Case summary. In Atkins v. Virginia, the Supreme Court of the United States addressed the constitutionality of executing individuals with intellectual disabilities, formerly known as mental retardation. The court ruled that the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment bars the execution of individuals with intellectual disabilities. Background facts. Darrell Renard Atkins was convicted of abduction, armed robbery, and capital murder in Virginia. During the penalty phase of his trial, Atkins was diagnosed with mild mental retardation. His IQ was tested to be 59, which is significantly below average and indicative of intellectual disability. Atkins was sentenced to death, prompting appeals that eventually reached the Supreme Court. Claimant plaintiff, Darrell Renard Atkins defendant, Commonwealth of Virginia. Arguments. Plaintiff's argument. Atkins argued that executing individuals with intellectual disabilities violates the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. He contended that persons with intellectual disabilities have diminished culpability and moral understanding, and therefore their execution serves no legitimate penal purpose. Defendant's argument. The Commonwealth of Virginia argued that there was no national consensus against the execution of individuals with intellectual disabilities and that each state should have discretion in determining its own standards for capital punishment. Final outcome. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of Atkins, holding that the execution of individuals with intellectual disabilities constitutes cruel and unusual punishment prohibited by the Eighth Amendment. Law justification and reasoning. Eighth Amendment prohibition. The court emphasized that the Eighth Amendment evolves with society's standards of decency. It noted a consensus among states, legislatures, and juries against the execution of individuals with intellectual disabilities. Diminished culpability. The court recognized that individuals with intellectual disabilities often have diminished capacities to understand and process information, making them less culpable for their actions compared to those without such disabilities. Risk of miscarriage of justice. Executing individuals with intellectual disabilities carries a heightened risk of wrongful execution due to their diminished ability to navigate the legal system and understand the consequences of their actions. Key concept. Atkins v. Virginia established that executing individuals with intellectual disabilities violates the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. This decision reflects evolving societal standards and the recognition that individuals with intellectual disabilities have diminished culpability and a reduced capacity to comprehend and participate in legal proceedings. Learnings. Evolution of Eighth Amendment jurisprudence. Atkins v. Virginia underscores the dynamic nature of Eighth Amendment jurisprudence, reflecting evolving societal attitudes towards punishment and mental disability. Protection of vulnerable groups. The decision highlights the importance of protecting vulnerable populations, such as individuals with intellectual disabilities, from severe and disproportionate punishments. State discretion versus national consensus. Candidates should understand the balance between state discretion in criminal justice policies and the constitutional protections afforded by evolving national consensus and standards of decency.